guys, welcome back to the Boeing Bookshelf. And today is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. And oh my god. So I just, I stayed up until like 3:30 Sunday night, Monday morning, finishing this because I had gotten to a part where I could not go to sleep without finishing this book. A little brief summary. This House of Earth and Blood follows a half fae, half human named Bryce that is grieving the loss of her best friend, and she, 2 years after the fact, she is teamed up with a fallen angel named Hunt. And when the murders start occurring, they team up together to solve what's going on, like why is this happening, and how is it related to her best friend's death. And oh my god, it is amazing. I loved it. It was so awesome. But I pretty much knew picking this up I was going to love it because I've read everything else from her, and I adored her writing in her worlds. This book is her first in an adult fantasy line. With this though, like, there's not like a whole bunch of difference between House of Earth and Blood and then like Court of Thorns and Roses or Throne of Glass. But I was super excited and super intrigued by it. The world was so great. It is complex though. It is heavy in history and myth or mythology, and it has a lot of characters, or not characters, species, really. So in this world, you're gonna find vampires, werewolves, shifters of any and every type, the merfolk, merfolk, fae, of course, angels, and the whole hierarchy with the angels between fallen archangels and the highest level of angels. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, and there is a lot of info because again, this is the first book, so she has to give us more because of it. But it was okay. It wasn't done, in my opinion, in a boring way. It was very interesting, so I didn't really get too lost. Though it was a bit overwhelming trying to remember everything because there is a lot. And one thing I love about this book is the inside art. I don't know if you can see it very well, but it is super, super cool and so pretty. I love it. I think we're zooming in a little bit. So I love it. It's so pretty. Then she gives us a pretty awesome map as well. So it's really cool, and you can kind of see how the city's divided up and how everything is. But really awesome. And I think even the Court of Thorns and Roses and then the Throne of Glass series also comes with like maps and stuff like that too. So this one wasn't an out of the norm for her, but I loved it. But I didn't really actually refer back to the map at all during the book. It is definitely urban fantasy. So in this world, set in like 20,000 years in the future, the supernatural beings of this world is they hold a hierarchy than over humans. Humans are like the lowest of the low. They're trying to like exterminate them. But it was, they have, you know, cell phones, they have cars, they have high tech surveillances, computers, cameras. I mean, everything that pretty much we have, state of the art wise, they have. But yeah, like, the world building was really good. I liked it. I didn't have any moments where I was like, where it felt too distracting. Bryce, I liked. She was cool. Probably not my favorite female character from Sarah J. Maas. My favorite character is probably Elena from Throne of Glass. And I will be kind of like, unfortunately, referencing these two because you can't talk about a Sarah J. Maas book without mentioning these two, because it all kind of, they're not tied together in any way, they're very separate, but the writing style is all kind of the same, a little bit. But I liked Bryce, she was really cool. Personality wise, she was great, but I felt like she did have a couple of Mary Sue moments. Again, it kind of seems to be common with Sarah J. Maas's characters, especially the females. She just kind of had those moments of, you know, she pulled that trick out of the bag at the right moment for it to something to happen, to go the way the character needed to go or whatnot. So not necessarily a bad thing, but it's common, so I kind of already expected it, so I wasn't disappointed by it too much. Hunt was good. He's a good character. He's kind of a hard character, but not a complete jerk. He does have that tragic backstory. He's probably not my favorite male character from Sarah J. Maas, unfortunately. I do like the fallen angel aspect, because that's what Hunt is, a fallen angel. And he is a slave to the archangel that owns him, and he's basically, Hunt is the personal assassin. And I liked that. I wish... See, I can't even tell you what I wish for him. I feel like there was a bit more that could have been done for him. There are a lot of other secondary characters that were really great. One of my favorites was the Fire Sprite. She was so awesome. I loved her, her personality, her quirk, she was just so cute and adorable little flame. Bryce does have a pet, chimera, that I picture something kind of like Fizzgig from the Dark Crystal, but like with a lion's tail and like chicken feet. Really, really cute and adorable, and just I can't wait for the next book, hoping that he's in there. So again, as I mentioned before, this is her very first adult fantasy book. So with that, and because I am also reading the Fever series by Karen Marie Moning, I was expecting House of Earth and Blood to be a bit more along those lines, a bit more heavier in the romance. And I was actually super surprised it wasn't that. I was expecting her to take this opportunity to be a bit more on the, not necessarily graphic, but a bit more heavier in like sex scenes. Because, if you have read A Court of Thorns and Roses, damn. I during the first book, there was a couple of scenes or one in particular, that I was like, oh, is this YA? Because she kind of got very detailed, and it got, especially in A Court of Mist and Fury with Rhys and Farah. It got really detailed, and there was quite a few scenes for them. And this ended up just being a little bit like heavy petting. So, yeah, I was a bit like, okay, I feel like you missed the mark, but, she will definitely probably ramp it up in the second book. But yeah, so it was a little bit that and like the language. I've read a few other reviews or watched a few reviews where they did mention the language. F-bombs fly galore in this book, so I didn't have an issue with it. F-bomb is probably one of my favorite words. But yeah, so every page has almost at least one F-bomb, and there are 800 pages. So, a lot. But yeah, so that's really the only difference between this writing style for this book and then these two series for YA. Nothing, I mean, this honestly, that was really it. The sex scenes were just a little bit really toned down and just a bit more cursing. I did feel like the relationship between Bryce and Hunt was a bit lacking, and I don't know if it's because I fell in love with the way she did the relationships for these two books. I was wanting that or expecting that for this book, and I just feel like it was just a bit more on the shallower side. But with this being the first book, she can totally improve that. I did, and another thing that's common for me with Sarah J. Maas books is it did take me a few chapters to get into it. When I first read A Throne of Glass, I read the first couple of pages and just like I put it down, and then I would read a couple more and then put it down again. And I finally was able to once I got past a couple of chapters, was able to really get into it. And I did the same thing with A Court of Thorns and Roses, and it took me a few chapters, and I'll be able to get into this one on why I had such a hard time with this one more when we talk about that one. But yeah, in House of Earth and Blood, it took me at least 2 days to really get through the first part of this book, and which it just didn't have that spark. I was wanting something, and I need something to be able to grab me by the gut and just drag me along. But it does do that in the middle and the end of the book, but in the beginning, it was just a little bit of a slow burn. I still enjoyed the book though. God, still enjoyed it. So amazing. But yeah, that first part, it just took me a few chapters. I wish there was more to do with the houses. So the society is broken up in houses. This book, with being House of Earth and Blood, it more or less deals with. Hang on, I'm getting to it. So the House of Earth and Blood has the shifters, humans, witches, ordinary animals, and many others. And then there's the House of Earth and Sky, or Breath. Sorry, House of Sky and Breath, which has the angels, the fays, elementals, sprites, and those blessed by Solus. House of Many Waters, which is the river sprites, mer people, water beasts, nymphs, kelpies, and then the House of Flame and Shadow, which has more like reapers and wraiths and vampires and dragons and necromancers and all the wicked creatures like that. I wish there was more to do about the houses as like a society foundation or one of the cornerstones of the society. It was very little mentioned, to be honest. A lot of the creatures within those houses, yes, are mentioned, and you kind of see them a lot and deal with them a lot through Bryce and Hunt's hunt for the killers. But that was really it, unfortunately. So I feel like there could have been a lot more for that, because it really, really intrigued me on how these houses, why they were there, why is this set up, and I wanted to know all that, but I didn't get that. So there's one thing about Bryce and it's not just Bryce, there's been a few other female characters that I have read, and not just with Sarah J. Maas, but with several other books. You know, the whole double switch thing, where the main chick kind of gets her heart broken, or gets her feelings hurt, or feels betrayed by the male character, and the male character he does something really bad that kind of goes against the morals or the beliefs or the feelings of that female character, and they kind of go their separate ways for a minute. But the second that guy character's in trouble, the female is always like, oh, I gotta save them. Like, why do chicks always have to bail out the asshole that breaks their heart? And then, a couple of pages later, a couple of chapters later, they sit there and go like, oh, I can't lose another friend. I have to save him. But he can go to hell after this for all I care. All in the same breath. And it's like, I hate that. I really do. It annoys the piss out of me. Why can't an author let a female character be like, no, he totally screwed me over. He can now, he can suffer. He made his bed of thorns and roses. No pun intended. He can lay in it. So that is one thing that I feel like it annoyed the hell out of me with Bryce, because she did have that moment, and I'm just like, for the love of God. I could have dealt without that. And that just kind of shows you just my attachment to Hunt. I could have cared less that he was in trouble. And that's just, that whole thought process is so asinine to me. And one thing I do wish for, the pronunciation guide for this book, there is a lot of words that I had a hard time pronouncing, just mainly because I was having to go through and be like, sound them out, and it pulled me out of the world, and I wish there was a pronunciation guide with this. There was in A Court of Thorns and Roses, and with the Throne of Glass, on how to pronounce the names or the creatures or the cities and stuff like that. I really wish that would have been in this one. It would have helped out a lot. I don't know why I even looked for it in the back. That was the first thing I did, because I knew there was going to be, how she was going to do this world was going to be a bit more of a challenge for my my reading pronunciation, but it wasn't. I dealt with it. But yeah, the ending though of this book though was so amazing. Like I said at the beginning, I stayed up until 3 o'clock, about 3:30 in the morning, because I could not finish this book. I loved the ending of this book, and I didn't have any doubts on how this ending, that I was going to love the ending, because I did it in almost every single book that she's done. The ending is so action-packed, and when things really got going, I could not put the book down. It was so amazing. I love the way that she builds it all up, and she doesn't resolve this issue in a couple of chapters. This spans pages and pages, chapters and chapters and chapters of getting this ball rolling. And the second that you think that everything's resolved and calmed down, you plunge down into another twist that just leaves you needing to read more. And I loved it. It was so awesome, and that didn't disappoint me. Again, it's kind of a common thing that I've noticed with Sarah J. Maas. There are patterns. Some of the things I saw happening, or that did happen, I saw happening in the middle of the book. And I knew kind of the foreshadowing, how it was going to play out with some things. And so yeah, there was a couple of twists that happened towards the end of the book that I really truly didn't see coming, and totally left me like breathless, which I loved. But again, kind of going back to Bryce with this Mary Sue, she does have a couple Mary Sue moments. Things just happened at the right time, and she was able to pull off something that happened, and everything worked out for the best for her in these situations. So I kind of knew that was going to happen. But yeah, I loved the ending. Man, it took me for a ride, and I loved it. It was so good. But yeah, despite there were a few things that I wish were different, or I didn't quite like, but overall, oh my god, I loved it, and I totally will reread this book. It was amazing, and I cannot wait until the next book comes out, whenever that is. So Sarah J. Maas was able to do it again. She put out another great book. So totally check it out. Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood. Amazing. But yeah, so obviously new book. No, I don't think I did many spoilers, or if any spoilers at all. Check it out. Barnes & Noble has it. You know, probably you can ask a local indie bookstore, small mom and pop shop. Libby, I'm pretty sure, has it. I haven't looked. But totally check this out. It was amazing. You definitely won't regret it. Urban fantasy, not high fantasy, but urban fantasy. But yeah, really, really great. I loved it. It was so amazing. And like I said, I love the dust jacket on it is so pretty. The inside art is pretty. But yeah, I am really intrigued on how this world's gonna go. But yeah, totally check it out. Yeah, that's the book. I was really excited to do this review for this because I was like, oh my god, it's so amazing. And it makes me want to go in and talk about these even more. But yeah, so like, subscribe, comments. I want to know your thoughts on this book. I want to have a discussion about this book so badly. So yeah, hit me up in the comment section. I will totally gladly talk your ear off with this. But yeah, anyways, until next time, bye.